Welcome everybody to yet another day of our We Grow Together Dialogue Conference. Today we have some very special guests in our waiting room to tell you all about their amazing journey around the world in pursuit of living a sustainable lifestyle. So today we have Alice and Alberto, who are going to tell you about their travel around the world. Hi, welcome Alice.
Hello.
Welcome. Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Very good.
Are you excited?
Yeah, very excited to tell
Are you excited?
more.
Yes.
Yeah, very excited. Yeah, and we are actually from two different locations, two different countries too.
Yeah, I needed to go back to visit my family for this week. So
Amazing. So thank you very much for being here today. And the floor is all yours. And blow us away with your story, please.
thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, welcome everyone who's watching. We will start our seminar about how to discover the world and live more sustainable. And we hope to inspire you with our stories in this coming, let's say, hour. And feel free to ask us all the questions you want. We'll keep an eye on the chat. So if you want to ask us something about what we are telling or about our world tour, please let us know in the comments. And also, if you're watching, of course, that would be nice. Alberto, do you want to start off?
Yeah, what we want to share with you today is how a bit of our story, which experience in our lives were change our way to see the world, how to discover the world almost for free as we did, because we spent even less money than just living a normal life in the Netherlands, what it can bring to you, but also what you can bring to the world. Why you will never book another holiday just for fun and never again, and how to start to live, act, and behave more sustainably.
So a lot to talk about
with
many
you.
Things. But before we continue, we also want to tell you a little bit about ourselves for the people who don't know me yet. I'm Alice. I am born and raised in the Netherlands. I am a social entrepreneur and active One World Citizens member. Closely working with Monique van Dam, the founder of our organization. I focused my social enterprise on creating projects for youth empowerment and also between making collaboration between youth and policymakers. And lately, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, I'm also more focused on my own personal development and in a way of that I want to discover how to create a more sustainable work and lifestyle and how I can share that with others.
On my case, I'm Albert Andrade. I was born in Spain, but I went to live in the Netherlands already 5 years ago, even 6. I'm a biologist and specialized, or my interest is mainly in biodiversity and animal behavior. But lately, I've worked on many different kind of jobs. But lately, I have the same than Alice. My interest is going more and more into how to create a more sustainable lifestyle, not only for ourselves, but also to share with others and be part of a positive change for the rest of the world.
Exactly. So to tell you about how we discovered the world step by step, we want to tell you a little bit about our life stories, how it all started. So to talk about me as a child, I had a huge love for all kinds of animals and for nature and our planet. And I was watching, instead of cartoons, I was watching documentaries of David Attenborough and all those kind of things to know more about nature. So I had a passion as a little child already, and a big care for our planet. I felt. But when I was going through the education system, and maybe some of you can feel the same way, you have to make choices, and well, my environment sort of directed me into choose studies a little bit broader than just nature. I actually wanted to become a veterinary, but I wasn't smart enough. Maybe I didn't have enough grades, enough good grades to get into the medicine school for veterinary. So my environment guided me into choosing something which I actually could find a job in. So and well, nature and jobs, well, that's not really something that you can find a job in, I thought. So I began studying urban and rural development, which is nature is a small part of it. It's more about planning our surroundings, but yeah, of course, nature is part of it, but not as much as I wanted to. And luckily, I had during my studies in the third year, I had the opportunity to do an internship abroad. And since I was a child, I'm watching all these documentaries, and maybe also, I don't know, The Lion King. I had this feeling of really wanting to go to Africa. I just had that gut feeling, you could say it, that I wanted to go there. So when I had the opportunity to do an internship abroad, I thought, just let's go for it, and let's see if I can find a project suitable for it. And I did, actually. I went to South Africa for 3.5 months. In the middle of a national park, in the middle of nature. So there was elephants and lions and all the animals that I all saw in those documentaries. I was living surrounded by them. And it was a completely life-changing experience for me. I was really feeling part of that whole system. I was feeling close to nature and our planet, and I felt, yes, this is what I was always dreaming of, and this is where I was born for. But coming back to the Netherlands after that and had to finish my study, it was pretty difficult to get back into the school seats, and to just before I was mostly focused on making my surroundings proud, or maybe success and career. And after this life-changing experience, I really had no motivation to finish my studies anymore. But luckily I found some teachers, by coincidence, I think, that really guided me through this last part of my study, helped me get my degree. And there's where I also met Monique of One World Citizens. And well, she just started talking about that she just founded One World Citizens as an organization. And just the whole story of One World Citizens, we are one world, together we can create a better world, a better future for everyone. It just really connected to me, and I just thought that let's stay connected. And who knows, I was graduating in a crisis, so there was no opportunity for jobs at all, and I actually didn't want to work in my field of studies, really. So I just thought, like, I want to go abroad again and experience again those kind of life-changing experiences in life. So I follow my passion.
Try to find these gaps that you was feeling there, no?
For trying to experience as much as possible. And I thought, well, One World Citizens might help me with that. So let's get to know it better. And later, obviously, it became much more than that.
Well, and then it comes my story. I also had a deep interest in nature. Since I was a little child, I was fascinated by how many life forms were there. All the animals, the plants was like crazy. Not even the best imagination out there could make something like that. And later that interest was developing into an interest also in science and in all forms of life, I would say. And I also felt that pressure, external pressure into making career or making different choices, maybe study medicine or something that is seemed to be more useful for society. But at the end, I got the strength to say no. This is what I want to do, so I will do it. And when I start my career on biology, it was already the crisis was already a bit in the corner, like something is coming there. But I said I will be unhappy if I go any other direction. So I went.
So you actually choose to study within
Yeah,
your passion.
but still,
You was brave. You
Yeah,
was brave enough to do so.
But with all this external pressure, still I see that I made different choices inside my studies, for example, and also on how to use my time on different ways. But anyway, I made the choice and I went through it, even with some difficulties in the middle. And in the middle of my degree, I was almost done with the education system. I was feeling like, yeah, this is not what it should be. But then I found out a master that was exactly on what I wanted to learn more of the world, and it's biodiversity and natural conservation. So it gave me a bit the strength to keep going. And I did the master. I was really happy for it. But then I felt like crisis was already started. It was already a couple of years even after, but I mean, we are in 2020 and in Spain we didn't really see the end of the crisis and now it's coming another. So you just need to adapt to your own circumstances. And there are always countries around the world, even in worse situations. So on my case, I felt like, yeah, I learned a lot of things in books, but I was born in a city, I grew up in a city, my contact with nature was limited to some excursions during my studies, and I was from a quite protective environment. I don't know if you know that, but in general, Mediterranean mothers are quite protective sometimes. And that didn't give me the room to discover more about my passion. I did some volunteering in nature with several organizations, but it was like one day every week or one day every 2 weeks. That was not enough for me, and that's why I was so eager to get a real experience of how I wanted to live, what I wanted to learn. And that's how we came to discover about the European Voluntary Service, IVS, EVS when we did it, Erasmus Plus, I think that is the name that they use still nowadays. And it's a program designed for youth from European countries and other countries in close relation, let's say.
Yeah, partner countries of the EU.
Yeah.
So any youngster until 30 years old of the European Union can choose to do European voluntary service, and that are voluntary projects about in different fields, in the field of education, in the field of cultural exchange, in the field of nature. And you actually have the possibility to go and visit another country and volunteer for a minimum of 2 weeks, but also up to 1 year, in which most of your costs are covered by the European Union program, the Erasmus Plus program. So most of your travel costs are covered. And also you get your living costs covered and a little bit of pocket money to travel around. So yeah, we found out, well, Alberto in Spain, I in the Netherlands, we
And in
found out
completely
about
different
this
ways. But
program, yeah, really by
yeah.
coincidence actually, because during my studies I never heard something about that, and I actually wanted to go and travel after my studies, but I just couldn't find other ways. Like they were either very expensive to just do volunteering for 2 weeks or so, but long-term volunteering I couldn't really find something, and by coincidence we actually came to this Alberto too about the European Voluntary Service, and it's still going on. So for people who want to, you can even do it in a break year, or yeah, like so during your studies, you can make use of the program. So people who want to travel and experience, this is the way to go, I would say, for European youth.
Yeah.
I see Monique said something about, we were wondering why there's no follow-up for students who go abroad for internships and have a life-changing experience. Oh, what is it about? But also good ideas for change as soon as they come back home. We should change this.
Yeah,
I really
definitely.
agree,
Because
Monique.
when you come back, you have many new ideas, but there is also not a way to aim into something concrete. That's a shame.
And thank you, Flora. You guys did so much. You lived everyone's dream. Well, yeah. So we were really glad to find out about this opportunity, and there's actually where we met. For the people who don't know us, Alberto and I are a couple.
Yeah.
But Alberto is actually now in Spain with his family for 1 week because he didn't see them for almost a year, or more than a year,
No,
actually.
almost
So
2 years.
no, that's not true.
One and a half.
Last year September we were there.
Still quite long, and there was no other possibility than coming this week, so I need to do with what I have.
Yeah, let's hope he can still come back.
Yeah.
Let's our border shut that first. So yeah, European Voluntary Service. We chose a project to spend 8.5 months in different parks in Lithuania.
Well, you
and
chose it. For me,
it was
what came to my hands.
Yeah,
For me, was
yeah.
last minute decision. So, but we came to the same place.
Lithuania, it was an unknown country for both of us. It's Europe, but I mean, for people living in the Netherlands, Europe is either up to Scandinavia countries or down more towards Spain and Italy, the warm countries, and a little bit less east. But it was for me personally a complete culture shock, because I thought, well, Lithuania, it's Europe, but I found out a completely different culture than I thought it. Yeah, I knew. So Lithuania is had of course a big influence of the Soviet Union and a very different history than the Netherlands. And I remember I went to the biggest village of Lithuania, which was 700 people living there. So can you imagine? Yeah, not a lot of people living in Lithuania at all, but also not a lot of them are living in rural areas. For me, it was a culture shock, mostly because everything was so different, but it was still Europe. So, and in South Africa, I didn't really had that culture shock because I was expecting to find a completely different culture, but in Lithuania I didn't expect it to find it. And yeah, in that village it was very poor still, and living conditions were pretty basic, but it was also amazing because we were living super close to nature. We were living in a natural park in Lithuania. So that was for me the first impression.
Yeah, on my case, I didn't have any expectations. So for me, the cultural shock was not there, but the first feeling I got was freedom. I don't know why, but that feeling stay with me the whole experience. It was just so amazing to be able to go out your doorstep and be surrounded by amazing nature. Also, the opportunity to meet people from so many different countries, different backgrounds, cultures, and their stories were so different from ours, and still we had so much in common. I felt many times much more connected to these people than with anybody or almost anybody back home. And during my childhood or my early years, I never got in contact with anybody from out of Spain almost. In fact, the first person that I spoke English to was Alice when I found her on the bus station the first day that I arrived to Lithuania. So, and still I didn't feel that cultural shock. For me, it was just natural.
Yeah, meeting the different European or youth from different European countries was just really eye-opening. Monique asked me what was most eye-opening. What was your biggest eye-opener? I think for me it was. I think I was living with a girl from Ukraine, and at that time, Russia was getting into Crimea so it was a lot of things going on in the Ukraine and Russia. And I think for me, the biggest eye opener were just that we were, I didn't know that much actually of the different cultures in Europe and the different countries. And it was so amazing to really broaden your perspective on Europe as well. And obviously I found Alberto there too. So that was an eye opener.
And there is also a question from Belida.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever gotten homesick? On my case, the only moment where I felt homesick was in New Zealand when the coronavirus arrived, lockdown took place, and we, after 9 months in nature and in the
living our way,
countryside, living our way, we saw ourselves stuck in the biggest city of New Zealand in a hotel room with no possibility to even open the windows. There I felt freaking homesick.
Yeah,
But
but
for
that
the
was
rest,
also just camper van homesick,
oh,
maybe. I think feeling homesick. I don't really think that we really had that feeling of feeling homesick because when traveling, you meet so many amazing people, and it's just, people are so understanding, and it's just when discovering other cultures, you also discover that a lot of cultures are way more open than the Netherlands, for example, people in the Netherlands. So I also learned to be much more open and warm to that, and take care of people. So really, really homesick. Of course, if something happens at home and you can't be there, then you have moments of homesick. But just mostly because it's the same with Wormwood citizens. We find family along the way. So that's the great thing about traveling. Biggest challenge for adventurous travelers like you?
I don't know. We had quite
challenge.
some, but
I think mostly it's after traveling, so coming back to your normal life, and you feel like you've grown so much, but the world sort of stood still in where you came from, and you feel sort of like coming back to the same place as where you left. So I think because of traveling, and all those experiences, they make you so personally growing. You're personally growing, and they make you realize things and really make you open to different kinds of living, and just to see how you can continue that when you're back home. I think that's the biggest challenge.
You also change during this time, and then you go back to the same context from where you came, and sometimes there is a bit of a gap that you need to figure out.
So then after Lithuania, spending 8.5 months together there, we also felt like, okay, let's not waste this and stop this. And Alberto wanted to come to the Netherlands, and it was mostly a practical decision there, because in Spain there was no jobs really for young people, and not either for older people, but difficult to start in Spain. So in the Netherlands, we thought, like, let's find some basic job again. And we found some jobs. Alberto worked in PostNL, which is a post or delivery company where it was physical job with moving boxes a lot at night, a night job.
And Ivan also said a question about, did you ever consider living in another country? And I will say that before, I never considered it. I thought I would stay in Spain, fight into finding my way here, and that was it. It was my experience in Lithuania that came from random events what opened my view and also put the seed into wanting to discover more of the world.
And for me, I always consider to live in another country. I just always wanted to go abroad, and I still think that I will not live the rest of my life in the Netherlands, and I will not. Hopefully, on the old age, I will I think I will not die in the Netherlands. Wow.
What a drastic.
So coming back from Lithuania, we started basic jobs. I had a lovely job as a marketing assistant. Not at all, really. It was horrible, actually. But luckily, we still were involved with World Citizens, and the network was growing. And there's where we found meaning and appreciation of the network of Monique. And we also got just training from training, sharing ideas and sharing knowledge in One World Citizens.
And also discovering how to know more about yourself. I remember a workshop, I think was with Pius. Then I thought, why is this not included, for example, in the high school? It will be so much important than many other things that are in the curriculum. But
And I think a lot of young people nowadays, they feel they want to do something meaningful, a meaningful job. And of course, that's the ideal situation if you have a job or can create a job that is meaningful. But maybe at the start of your career, it might not be like achievable at first, which obviously it should change. I feel that young people should have that opportunity, but when you don't have that opportunity, it's really great to be connected to an organization or to people like you, that you feel that you can be of meaning and be meaningful, and that you gain so much out of it as well, and positive energy. So it keeps you in balance as well. And for us in that being involved in One World Citizens, it really led also to more meaningful work. So for me, I had the opportunity to do some paid projects, starting with a project for the ministry in the Netherlands in close collaboration with One World Citizens. So I started out as a freelancer and doing some projects, and Monique coached me a lot, along the way, but it really led, volunteering can lead to meaningful jobs. And for Alberto, it's, I think, the same.
Yeah, because it gave me a bit of the, how to say, self-esteem to try. Because once you are in a basic job, a lot of times it's really easy to just enter into the dynamic and you cannot see further. You are there picking boxes and you think that that's it. I will die here. But having the contact with One World Citizens, I saw, okay, there is more going on. And I was maybe not collaborating so deeply as Alice, but I was doing some volunteering activities there. I was involved in some of the things that they were doing, and that gave me a bit the inspiration to, when the opportunity for working, well, at the beginning was just an internship in a laboratory. Then I found, okay, it's quite innovative and different than the most. So I found it interesting, and I would not even write a motivational letter or try to get that job before, because I was not feeling like, okay, what was I doing with my life? But still, because of this contact, I got the motivation. I just tried, and I got the internship. And later on, they gave me a job on that laboratory. And okay, we were getting basic salary, minimum salary. Maybe we could have earned much more money just with basic jobs, working even harder. But for us was more than enough, seriously, and we learned so much more during that time because of that. I would not change it if I go back.
Yeah, and there's also where we met Augustine from Kenya and Pradeep from Nepal. In the beginning, it was online, the contact,
Yeah.
but then soon Monique with One World Citizens invited them to the Netherlands. And there's where we also found that sharing of cultures and different backgrounds. And yeah, it was really amazing to meet them for the first time. I think it was 2015, maybe 16, I'm not sure. And it was just really great. And I remember very well Augustine's presentation about his situation in his country and in his community, especially on water. And he was really working already since like 12 years old, which was super inspiring for me, with his community to create peace amongst youth, and by that also between the different communities there. And he actually really was looking for solutions on water. From that moment, I was so inspired to see if I can help him in some way, doing maybe a project, or it was just like finding more meaning there in the connection between each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, after doing a project with him, I had this team in Den Bosch, a city in the Netherlands, of primary school, no, high school, so at the beginning of the first years of high school, that were helping to find out a way to get clean drinking water for people in Kenya. And by that, to know more of Augustine's situation, we just got really motivated to go and visit Kenya and to see if we can help Augustine in any way to make sort of his situation more visible to the outside world. So we were going there mainly to document and to make videos just with our smartphones, and to just share about what Augustine was doing there, and share about the situation of water, so we could really make it into new projects. So we saved up money, from our basic income, but we had income and we lived pretty, normal,
Cheap.
Simple, but good. And we saved up our money, pocket money, to visit Augustine for 3 weeks in Kenya. And there's also where we find more perspectives again of Augustine invited us in his community, We met community leaders, we met youth that he's working with. We experienced the whole situation, and we visit the different water points communities were using. It was really, it was really such a different world, and I think really good for us, but hopefully also by documenting it for the process of working towards clean water and access to water in Kenya.
We also had the opportunity to work together with Augustine and the youth there because they already know what the situation there is. They are living that every day, but they also see many opportunities, or they have a lot of ideas. So we also had the opportunity to work with them, like, okay, what are the possibilities? For me, was also an eye-opener, because already when Augustine came to the Netherlands and shared his story, it was an eye-opener. But to see it yourself, that was when you really begin to understand how things are going.
Yeah.
And also another thing, apart from the project on water that Augustine is doing there, something that opened our eyes as well was we could see the impact that the Western world is having on these countries. Our decisions here in Europe have a big impact on the livelihood of people in Africa. We saw how people there sell for nothing their land to big corporations. When these corporations then plant towards the horizon and then 3 times over pineapple plantations, and then these people is getting a job there and getting paid not enough to get food when they are producing food that is being sent to Europe. This is just
mostly
an example. But
mostly it's a lack of education and not knowing the value of the resources they have, because actually they had a way better life with having a piece of land. But it was just really we really saw that impact of the Western world, and we also saw we met one of. Do you remember that one old man in the community of Augustine? That said, like, he came up to me and he spoke in his own language, of course, and Augustine was translating it, and he said, I'm 70 years old, and for 70 years long, people coming here, white people like you, coming here and telling us situation, they will come and help, and situation will get better, they will do something. And in all those 70 years, nothing ever changed. And for me, that was like, it was impactful. Just mind-blowing, to know that. And also thinking about, for how long are we actually in the West and already raising money to poor Africa, and then you see that there are still people having lack of basic needs, having lack to water. And with Augustine, we also discovered that there are organizations active in this area, all kinds of organizations, and they do projects there for people that sort of like, for example, hygiene kits for girls to go to school, because otherwise, if they are in their period, they can't go to school. Of course, that are good projects, but if you realize that people still not have enough drinking water, and the drinking water that they have, it makes them ill. It's so weird that it's not there yet. So for us, it was mind-blowing to really see that development aid, the traditional way of development aid, is really not working. And another example is what we saw is the roads. In Kenya, a lot of the roads and infrastructure is actually being built by Chinese companies. There is the signs of road constructions, and they are with Chinese letters on them. And you see Chinese workers in the machines building the roads. And then you can think about, why are Chinese people working on them? Why is China investing in the infrastructure in Africa? And what we found out is they're actually buying up land in Africa. China's buying up land as we used to do as the Western, like,
Well, we didn't buy, we just go there and took everything
we
for
start a
ourselves.
company. Yeah, but
Well,
now
yeah.
China is doing that. So they're buying land, building infrastructure, and getting all the resources as for the production in China, and for putting value to those resources
Yes.
in China later on. So it's really a crazy system. People are really left behind in Africa,
Yes.
I would say, and that's why I find so inspiring working with Augustine. I really saw that he could break that chain by empowering youth
Yes.
and giving them really a way to create work out of basic needs. If we can create work out of water and work out of food, and like in a sustainable way, that's really what how we as a world can grow. We cannot
Yes.
leave the world, half of the world left behind.
No.
So yeah, we just had a lot of eye openers about the impact of the Western world and the traditional way of development aid, and
Yeah, the
like,
last one that maybe we can share is when we arrived to Nairobi after being with Augustine for 3 weeks, and then we saw the skyscrapers in the administrative area, and then a neighborhood with walls and huge houses, and then little houses for their
workers.
gardeners and employees, whatever. And all the people that was living there, or 98% of the people, was just Western
Are white
white
people.
people from companies that are exploiting the resources there, or from the NGOs that are not making a change. Because the
Yeah.
NGOs, there is people with passion and doing amazing thing, wonderful work over there. But it's the whole institutions and all this system what is not doing what it could have a more sustained in time chance for these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can keep talking about this for hours.
Yeah, and in our research about the impact of the Western world on Africa, we found a amazing TED Talk. If you
Yes.
don't know about TED Talks, these are talks of different people, presentations, and there you can find a lot of them, inspiring videos on YouTube. But this TED Talk particularly is Mellons Bart Williams. And she is originally from Sierra Leone, but she lives in Germany. And she starts her TED Talk about saying, I am coming from the richest country in the world. And you see the audience watching like, huh, the richest country of the world? What do you mean you're a black woman? How can that be? And then she says, like, I come from Sierra Leone, and we have all the wisdom in our with our resources of the world. So we have diamonds, all the richness that your kings and queens desire. And that actually give value to your money. So if it comes to diamonds, but also resources
Gold,
gold, but also resources to technical stuff, like computers and laptops, all kinds of resources Sierra Leone has. And it's in the richest continent of the world, she says as well. That's Africa. And how can it be that the richest continent in the world is not the richest for the people? It should be that they is actually the poorest, most poorest for the people. So this cartoon is also in her TED Talk. So if you want to know more, open your eyes, discover the world, get into that, dive into that. And first you can start with that TED Talk of Mellons, Bart Williams. I really liked that. It was eye-opening to me.
Really inspiring.
Okay,
That brings
so
us to the next step. And
Yeah,
that was
but
the question
I think we have one more question from
Sorry.
Ivan. From my experience, most of tourists who visit Rwanda, our country, are likely to be affected by climate changes, especially white people. Have you ever got allergies or changes from unfamiliar environments like climate, diseases, etc.?
We were quite safe. I mean, we got all the vaccinations that we could because, we didn't want to be sick somewhere in the middle of nowhere with no hospital around, and also places where we know that there is a risk of getting disease. We didn't do the things that could bring you that disease inside your body. Also, I don't know. Maybe
Well, I think what for me, I actually became vegetarian since a year, 1.5, I'm not sure, 2 years. But I remember during our whole world tour, which we will come on in just a bit, I really didn't got any sickness, and I really believe it's because meat, animal products are way easier to get
get you
bad.
food poisoning by
Give you food poisoning, and we really didn't have that. So
we got a cold one time, but it was because the conditions were
cold.
extreme.
yeah, and of course it's hot, but it's also part of traveling. You know how to adapt to the rhythm.
And we also protect ourselves a bit from mosquitoes that are also one of the biggest vectors of diseases.
Yeah, that's important too. Always act responsible, and if you feel you have a feeling of, okay, I might not go there because it's not safe, or just don't do it. Just really feel your intuition, and because mostly your intuition is right. And it's important to stay healthy, of course. So and after our research into the impact of the Western world on sustainable development in the whole world, we really came to search much closer to home, actually, to search much closer to ourselves and see how our actions are impacting the world, and if there's ways to change the actions that have a bad impact, so really trying to search about how to live more sustainably by ourselves. So that was sort of our next step in our journey.
And that's
Monique
why.
Sorry. Monique is also saying, so you found each other as partners by coincidence in Lithuania.
Total coincidence.
Who knows?
Or maybe it's destiny. Depending what you want to believe. But
yeah, that's a good saying. Well, I was actually getting into the wrong bus, and I was arriving really late to the station where I had to go in Lithuania, and there's where I met Alberto. So who knows? It was destiny. Okay, let's continue. If there's any other questions, guys, please feel free to ask.
Keep asking, yes.
Yeah, so we sort of got into rediscovering ourselves, our impact, and also Able to Sustain, because for me, Able to Sustain, it was my graduation project of my bachelor studies, whereby I graduated. Luckily, I was so happy. And we sort of started just by doing research about living self-sustainable, living self-sufficient. What are the possibilities? Searching, for good examples. There's where the internet really helps. There's so much knowledge there, so it's great. And searching for ways how we in our daily lives could actually live more sustainable. And there in our research in living more sustainable, we were also again thinking good examples, we can read about them, but it's better to experience them. And by a common friend, we got to know about a platform called Workaway. The original, the website is workaway.info. And that's a platform where people from all different countries, but just not really organizations, but really people putting up their projects or their homes open for volunteers. And so you can go to, these are projects also for people finding help to do like watching the children after the children, or doing home construction or gardening. And you don't really, in a lot of projects, you don't really need to have experience. And when we found this project or this platform, it was really so many projects related to living self-sustainable and self-sufficient. And a lot of families, people who opened their house for volunteers. And the exchange on Workaway is because we always, if you travel, traveling costs a lot of money, but we always try to find ways how it is almost for free. And this way, the Workaway platform offers the exchange of you volunteering for a home or for a person at their homes, and in return you get food and accommodation. So it's really nice way. You work the usual is you work 5 days a week, 5 hours a day. You learn by doing so a lot. And you have a lot of free time to discover around, but actually, also spending time with people. It's what we got. But by finding this platform, we thought about the Able to Sustain World Tour, because we found that in our research into living more sustainable and self-sufficient, we either got examples really into the woods. Maybe bare feet and a little bit too far.
We saw like two extremes there, because when you search about self-sustainability or a more self-sufficient lifestyle, or you go into the woods and live really basic, but also maybe not in the same way or the same idea than we had, or is high tech. People with a Tesla or electric car, solar panels, a brand new house with energy efficient and everything. But then we were thinking, is that really sustainable? Because I mean, that resources came from somewhere, and we already saw from where most lead. So it was also not fitting with our idea. But through this
really
platform,
for us to pursue that lifestyle. So there's where the Able to Sustain World Tour came in our minds, because to life, because it was really cool to see, to find so many different projects all around the world and from all kinds of different backgrounds. People were actually already doing so, and we thought that we were sort of the only ones trying to find this way. But discovering this platform, we saw that it was people in Asia doing it, people in Africa, people in America, South America, everywhere, in every continent, people were doing so. And that was where we thought, okay, let's see if we can combine travel with this way of
and learning about our future.
Absolutely. So the Able to Sustain World Tour came with life. I'm not sure if I can show the video, and that might not be the necessary. It's on our YouTube channel, the Able to Sustain video introduction. I'm going on black. I don't know. Can I do something? I don't know if I can. No, it's probably without sound. So let's not play it. But we have a YouTube channel, Able to Sustain, and there's where you find this introduction on the Able to Sustain world tour, if you like.
Videos of the projects. The question is that I'm a bit slow and I still didn't finish them, but they will come in the future, slowly.
Yeah, I don't think the video will play, but we might put it in the comments later on for people to watch.
Better idea.
So we decided to visit every month one project, or more or less. That was the idea, because we felt really that before you get to know a country or a culture and a project, and also get to learn things about it, you have to stay a certain time. You cannot just go 2 or 1 week after another from place to place, because for us it really felt that we wanted to get to know a country or a project better and learn something. So we started out in Europe, in Portugal in July last year, and then we went to Spain, and then we went to Italy. So we searched it close to home first, because we already knew from our experience in Lithuania, sometimes you don't need to go far to get a completely different experience. And that's also actually where we thought we also met people who just were finding projects in their own country. So they were getting on a bike, traveling by bike, so even more sustainable, and discovering close to home projects. So if you don't have a lot of money, or you don't have money to save, this is the way to go. See if you can travel with your bike, or
there are so many projects and really interesting. And another question, why is Portugal, Spain and Italy in the south of Europe? Because at least like warm weather, so we decided to also start that way. More familiar environment and also warmer.
Yeah, and also a little bit focused on maybe our future steps, orientating. Mika, I just joined. I'm happy to be with you. Happy you're here, Mika. Thank you. So Europe. There's where we started our world tour, and we want to share with you from every continent we visited the most important discoveries of our world tour. And the first discoveries we had in Europe, it was that that we actually found out that it is possible to live self-sufficient and more sustainable. And we found some amazing, inspiring examples of young people choosing this kind of lifestyle, choosing this way of living. And we've also reconnected with our basic needs, back to the basic needs. So the food you eat, how to grow it, the energy you consume, how to take care of it, the water you use, really how the water, the catchment of the water and the purification of water and the consciousness about your water use, really learning about the basic needs. And it was really, we found an amazing connection to the people, again, to the young people. You can see it in this picture that we met along the way. We found a different pace of life, because when you are close connection to your basic needs, it's really a different pace. No,
you don't need to be hurrying all the time for all that things that you're supposed to need. You know what is important.
We lived close to nature, and it was really based on the connections we made were based on love. And another on like a training or professional side and skill development, we found out about permaculture. And that was pretty awesome to learn about, actually.
Yeah, on my case, I already have read a lot about permaculture, but it's a bit like everything. If you don't experience or you don't see it with your own eyes, it's difficult to get an idea. And through this experience, I could understand what I was reading about. Because permaculture is something, the name comes from permanent agriculture. Because actually, nowadays, the agriculture is mainly just monocrop, so one species of plant, like for example, maize, I don't know how it's in
Corn.
English, corn,
Yeah.
in a huge extension, then it's depleting the soil, then you just put chemical fertilizers, then keep it growing, but you don't know all the other nutrients, how they are going in the soil, plus pesticides, all the microorganisms are dying there. At the end, you are getting a desert. And that's how everything is working. And it's not even for human consumption, because we are giving it to the cows and so to get beef in our plate. But that's coming later, I guess. Let's not go off road. For me, it's complicated to be between the lines, But this permaculture, I always had a weird feeling about agriculture. I thought it was having such a negative impact in the world. I didn't want to collaborate with that. But then I saw this is seeing agriculture as a whole system approach, like agriculture integrated in nature. You are working with nature, not against it. And it's based in 3 principles that I consider really strong. That is earth care, people care, and fair share. And with that 3 principles, is not only, you don't need to go to a farm and begin growing your own food. That 3 principles you can incorporate in your daily life, and it can give you a total new perspective on how to behave, how to grow as a person, or how to be more consequent with your actions, I would say. But yeah, what's more to say about permaculture is something so broad that you need to do the research yourself. It's going on since the 70s. Bill Morrison with other is maybe the most famous person, but there are many other persons than, because a lot of people was shaping that movement from the origin in the 1970s. It started like many other change. Start with few individuals for some time, but now it's beginning to grow exponentially, because through all these people giving their own input and discovering more about this, they were able to find a way than, how to say it fix the problem that we are creating with how we consume, let's say. And it's becoming a global movement, and it has a lot of opportunities for a better future.
Yeah, and there's a lot of knowledge there. It's
Exactly.
actually,
It's also easy to find
it's
books.
becoming a lifestyle as well, as you say.
Yeah.
It's not more only about growing food, but it's becoming a lifestyle, and it's actually a way of designing also the land, and as you say, working with nature instead of it against it with agriculture. Well, citizens, David Attenborough makes his statement about biodiversity in his Wake Up documentary, A Life on Our Planet. Do you see a link with permaculture as a solution?
Yes, and I think
yes,
we will
absolutely.
talk it in the last part of our world tour, because it's one of the discoveries that we made, let's say. So we will come back to that.
Yeah, and what about permaculture? Just a little bit more. This is Bill Mollison, a picture of him, and one of his most famous quotes, which I really like. So it's about how you approach a problem. You can once you know how to approach a problem, based on his quote, you will do it differently in a lot of ways in your life. At least I do. And he says that you don't have a snail problem. So, for example, if you have a garden and there's a lot of snails, actually it's not a problem. Well, it's a problem to you, but if you want to solve it, you should not put like a poison there, because you have a snail problem, because you have a duck deficiency, because ducks, they eat snails, so you are missing a link in the whole system.
Yes, a lot of
And
times are disbalance in the system because we don't see it as a whole. We just see what we want to get and we just put all our effort there. And sometimes it backfires on us. For example, with pesticides. We throw so many pesticides and after 4 years the pest is resistant to it and it just destroys everything.
Or it's getting into our groundwater, our water
As well.
supplies.
Too many
A lot of problems.
problems.
So big discovery there about permaculture, and hopefully we inspire you to do a little bit more research yourself. And if you want to stay connected about it, obviously we are there.
Yes.
And then after 3 months in Europe, we finally made the jump to Asia, and we finally had the opportunity to visit Pradeep in Nepal. And we really wanted to go to Pradeep, especially after we visited Augustine in Kenya. So we spent 1 month more or less with Pradeep. There's where you see a picture, totally into Nepalese clothing for a festival, the Dasain festival in Nepal. In Thailand, we got after that in November, and then to Vietnam. And that was also the first time we visited Asia, Alberto, both of us. We haven't been there before. And immediately we felt, we discovered the big community feeling of people of Asia. So super warm, welcoming, lovely, caring people with
Amazing.
big communities, big family hearts. They completely, especially with Pradeep, we felt completely part of his family, and we were super accepted. And it was just amazing to experience that. And obviously, with working with Pradeep, we really saw the importance of ICT and making work of basic needs. And Pradeep is focusing on agriculture innovation. So we really exchanged our newly gained knowledge about permaculture also with Pradeep. It was in Asia, they have the biggest religion, I think, in Asia is the Hindu culture, and they have animal gods, and sorry? Hinduism, yeah. And they appreciate all forms of life, from the smallest animal to the big. They have a really different perspective on nature, I would say. A lot of people are still living from the land, living from local produces. So they have small farms, small farm holdings in Asia. And actually, if you want to buy food, it's always on a local market, and there's also where they prepare food. And supermarkets in Asia are really, well, maybe in the touristic areas, yes, but if you go a little bit outside for the normal people, supermarkets are not really used because, first of all, they are very expensive. And so, yeah, not accessible for a lot of them, but also because of everyone is still sort of connected to each other's lands, so they exchange products much more still.
Sadly, that is changing because it's kind of a fashion. People want to go to supermarkets. It's a bit like a status thing, and then if that is going, it keeps going this direction. Yeah, there will be plastic everywhere. It's already a lot of plastic pollution there. And also what you can buy in the supermarkets right now is food with much lower quality, like sugars and fats. Nothing to do
addictive
with
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, of course, sometimes when you are depending on the local, if there is a disturbance there or a problem, you should have a way to get food, even if you cannot rely on that source. But I would not call food what they were selling on most of the supermarkets. Let's say
And
that.
I think in Thailand we really, for the first time, really walked into the supermarket and really had like, this is not what we want to buy at all.
Was
And
like nothing
actually
was interesting.
we didn't need the supermarket anymore. So that was also crazy, that the way we were living close from the land, you don't need the supermarket, you don't miss it anymore.
We almost were surviving exclusively out of papayas. I will talk
In
another time
Thailand.
about papayas because that is the super
Well,
food.
that will get us to the food forest in a bit. But
Yes,
in
that's true.
Vietnam, that was our third country in our Asia experience. We couldn't really find a project where we could stay. So we thought, okay, we did a lot of projects, a lot of working. Let's see if we can spend a little bit more time traveling, seeing more of the country, because in the projects we always had we had to work, of course, but we had opportunities to visit, but also, we were traveling for a year, we were planning, so we had to look at the budget that we had left to do some things. But
we wanted to learn, so for us it was more like, we are going to a project in a different country, let's see maybe one special thing in one weekend from the whole month.
And more close in the area. But we really also didn't need it, because in Vietnam we were seeing a lot of the country, but it was every day almost a new place, and we sort of start feeling lost, disconnected, and actually also guilty for this way of traveling, because in the previous projects we always had such a deep connection to the land, the culture, the people. We got to know much more about the people. We got to know much more about the language. And in Vietnam, we were traveling for a couple of weeks, and we were not knowing any word of Vietnamese, and we were always seen as tourists. So in the projects that we visited, we were seen as family or close friends, and we had so unique experiences because of that. In this picture, that's in Thailand, where we had a karaoke night together with a lot of young people in Thailand, in just a small community. It was amazing, unique. Nobody else was there. And in Vietnam, we were meeting people that had seen the same things. It was all beautiful, yes, it was, but it was way less unique. And also the appreciation, at some point, you have another pretty landscape and another pretty, and in a lot of places actually there was like Instagram hotspots, people trying to get the best picture and just forgetting totally about what was around them.
Run away from there. Not a nice place to be.
Really, if you want to travel, please see if you can do volunteering, at least for a period, because you will definitely experience that you get way more unique moments. You could create way more unique memories by traveling like that, volunteering. And we found in Asia more about the principle of food forests.
Yeah, because I also have seen a bit about it in when I was reading about permaculture, but I also didn't see it on real life. But in Thailand, mainly, that was just amazing. We were just being fed, well, not exclusively, but if you see the amount of food that we were getting from a forest, then it was not even managed. So between papayas, aubergines, chilies, bananas, and from everything, and all the greens from bushes and from different plants, I didn't know much because I'm more used to temperate climates and so. But it was great to see it. And what it is creating an ecosystem with plants, animals, fungus, and everything then is able to be much more productive than if you just let it be. There are different things to consider there. Something that changed also my perspective towards it is to know that there were researchers that proved that the Amazonian jungles
Amazonian rainforest in South
South
America.
America, they are man-made forests. I knew about monkeys, for example, and other animals that disperse seeds from eatable nice trees and so. But to me, the concept that was also being modified by humanity through thousands of years and was being such an amazing ecosystem, it just got me, let's say. And then I saw that you could design your own ecosystem to aim to that richness. Just the basics are to consider that there are different layers in a forest. Like there are the ground layer, then bushes and how to say, creeping plants, the ones that are need other plants to climb, and then the trees. And you can put so much things there. You can use your imagination in so many ways. And also we come back to the same than I said before. You don't need to fight against nature, but with nature, and seeing which opportunities are there with the possibilities and the amount of time that you have. Like, for example, it is also a really interesting concept, and I think that if you're interested on what we talk about permaculture, you will get also there, and you will see. I hope that some of you will say like, okay, let's see what I can get from it.
Let's create forests again.
Yes.
Edible forests. Yeah, and especially if you look at the traditional way of doing agriculture, is one crop each time, mostly in rows, because it's productive, and then we can with machines easily get it from the land, take it from the land. So if you have 1 hectare of that and 1 hectare of food forest, the diversity of food you get, the resilience of food that you get, so in different seasons, different fruits and edible produces, it's just amazing. So amazing discovery for us.
You will not get so much problem from pests by example, because the birds that are eating the pest, for example, are living in that forest.
Yeah, the ducks are eating the snails that are there. Yeah. And then after that discovery, amazing experience in Asia, we got to Australia, to Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, where we spent time from January to April. And that was actually the last part of our trip. We also already sort of decided to come back a little bit earlier than a year. That was for several reasons, but due to the corona, we had to come back earlier in April. So we came to Australia, New Zealand, and at first we were pretty happy because at least the signs of the roads we could read, and we at least were a little bit more familiar to how the system of public transport and so on worked. And so we were pretty happy that we could also speak to the local people more because we would speak the same language.
But that changed quite fast, I would say.
Yeah, and I think we had high expectations. We had pretty high expectations, especially of New Zealand, because for us, New Zealand was like, the real,
paradise.
The green paradise. We heard amazing stories about New Zealand, amazing forest and nature, and a proactive government that took care of sustainable energy and things like that. So our expectations were pretty high, but then we discovered some things different. Actually, is that the appearance that these countries had was very different than the reality. And we got one of the things that we experienced was that when we got to Australia, there was last year great bushfires, or fires going on in Australia, and it was all over the international news. A lot of people were also killed in fires, a lot of animals killed in fires, a lot of people lost houses and lands to the fires. And there was really also a threat to the bigger cities. So for the first time in a long time, I think, we went to Sydney, the capital of Australia, first, and we had so many text messages of people that were following us and family, and they said, "Oh my God, are you okay? Be careful because of the fires." And it was chaos for the people who were internationally paying attention to the situation in Australia. But when we were walking in Sydney, and that was coming up to the New Year's 2019, 2020, we really saw not a lot of people really bothered, I would say, really worried or concerned. And sometimes in the sky, there was like ashes from the wind blowing from the big fires from the sky, and the ashes dropped down. So sometimes you would find on your clothes these little black stuff. And it was so weird. Everyone outside of Australia felt like super worried, but we felt people inside of Australia, of course, there were actions and things, but it was maybe because they were used to it, or I don't know. It was
because
didn't really feel like everyone was into crisis mode. life continued.
At least in the cities. Let's say that was what we found in the cities. Even talking with some people, they were like, "Oh, well, it's annoying. Sometimes we need to stay at home because the air quality is bad." That's it. They don't care about much further.
So in Australia we really experienced the consequences of climate change. These fires were so huge and in so many places at the same time. This was never ever before it would happen. But we also found other signs of climate change in Australia, and one of them, you see them in the picture. It's the one on the left top. It was when we were working in a national park, a natural park in Australia, doing the volunteering, and suddenly we saw some clouds coming from the distance, and they looked really orange, and we thought, like, okay, what's that? Is there a storm or so coming? But then the whole sky turned orange, and big winds were blowing, and we were caught in the middle of a sandstorm, and it happened actually 2 or 3 times when we were working there. And it wasn't like dangerous or something, but it was pretty scary. And the sandstorms that are actually caused by depleted soil, so big pieces of grounds, nothing to hold the soil. Australia is one of the biggest export countries of beef and dairy, so they have huge beef and dairy farms, just completely bare land.
They chop all the natural ecosystem there, that are bushes and little trees that are keeping the soil together and compact, not compact, but like in place. And by taking that, what they occasionate is then these kind of sandstorms and many other problems are getting just much worse.
Yeah. And actually they have a lot of problems with water, because also beef and dairy industry takes a lot of water. So we actually were driving one time on a road that on the left it's supposed to be a wetland with trees, but the trees were completely dried out and dead. The ground was completely dried up and dead. And on the other side there was the grassland for the beef, so for the cows, and you could really see this one road crossing it, that is just taking up so much. The agriculture, the way of doing agriculture, is taking up so much water, that they are just dehydrating themselves as a country. And one of the other things we saw there too is Australia also has a big production of fruit, of trees, fruit trees, and we were in a project in an area where there was a lot of apples and pears and plums and also that kind of fruits. That were planted there, and there was huge cages built around them, huge nets. You can't believe how big they were over the whole land, just to prevent the birds, the local birds, and they were beautiful birds. They were like parrots from all kinds of colors, to prevent them from eating the apple. So it was all in service for humans, and it was really, oh my God, crazy to really see it. That we as humans, we don't want to share our land with local wildlife. It was crazy to discover. So we really saw the impact of our global food demand. So a lot of products that are exported to other countries, and we want fruit, all varieties all over the world, as much as possible, all the time in season. And also in these countries, in New Zealand as well, we found a big gap between the first people, so in Australia called the Aboriginals, and in New Zealand called the Maori. And we saw a big gap between them. So they are still, the communities of the first people are really left behind, I would say. And you see really that there's a income difference, and still, different.
A lot of work to be done there.
A lot of work to be done, absolutely. Yeah. One of the other pictures you see is from an avocado tree. Avocados we love in the West, in the Netherlands. We love in the West. But also not the most sustainable choice, because also these take a lot of water and are dehydrating the soil in
and we are so
these
clever
countries.
that we plant them in semi-arid areas. It's like asking for disaster. And that's why we found the importance of biodiversity, because biodiversity is really the key indicator of the health of an ecosystem. And a healthy ecosystem can do so much for us. It can clean our water, purify our air, maintain the soil, regulate the climate, recycle nutrients, and provide us with food. I mean, we just talk about all the problems that we have seen around the world. A healthy ecosystem can fix all of them. I don't know how we cannot give more importance to it. And also, why is important biodiversity? The more species, the less risk of collapse. I mean, a wide variety of species will fight better against disturbances, against threats, than just a couple of species on a huge amount of numbers. And I mean, people are part of the earth. We are not apart from nature, we are nature. If nature is sick or weak, we are going to suffer the consequences sooner or later. Now we are just seeing a glimpse of what can happen. But we need to begin acting responsibly.
Yeah.
And I will not go deeper on that direction because it's a dark path.
No, so but there is hope, absolutely. If you look at the picture, is the project that we were last in New Zealand, and it was actually just two people loving nature and producing their own food, and replanting the forest. So if you see the hill on the right, it's just bare land, and it's just used for grazing of sheep and maybe some cows in some areas. But you can see the difference between the hill in the middle, which they actually replanted the forest in 20 years time.
Yes.
So from a bare hilltop to this forest, where there was water flowing and birds and all kinds of animals. It was amazing, and they helped to produce food there too.
Yeah.
So
And
it
the
just
wetlands were back to life. I
yeah.
mean, you
So
can
in the
see.
down you can see part of the wetland they were replacing again. In to also provide some
Habitat.
habitat for the ecosystem to return.
Hmm.
So there is hope, absolutely. And
And in fact, that's the next point of and the last point of our seminar. Because with permaculture and with many of these experiences, what it's really easy to go into negativity, especially me. Alice is more positive.
no, about the worries that you have of our
Yes.
planet and the big job that is actually ahead of us
Exactly.
and the changes that have to be made.
Can be
Sometimes it feels,
overwhelming.
yeah, like what can I do? Or it's just sometimes really depressive. Like, oh
But
my God.
we saw already so many good examples, and it's possible to leave a footprint, but a positive one, to
Yeah,
create
don't
a positive
forget.
impact.
Don't forget. So
Yeah.
don't be worried about that you're leaving a footprint, because that's what we all say, like, oh yeah, create less of a big of a footprint. But actually you want to create a footprint if it comes to positive impact that you can create. And yeah, with Earth Care, People Care, and Fair Share, we can create a positive impact, help your community and bring back biodiversity. We can create opportunities in rural areas. We can live in rural areas. We as young people, there is so many people already doing so. We can take care of the land.
We have still to share knowledge and good examples. Let the rest of the world see that another way is possible.
And with One World Citizens, we are actually doing that. Undertake your idea for change as well. So we believe, like, we were all born to
do amazing things.
do the amazing things, yeah, with our own ideas or our own talents, and really
we have the capacity.
Follow that passion and that dream, because it will lead you to great things. Absolutely. And just a call for action, discover the world, start by following your passion as we did, as we told you in the beginning of this seminar. Work and volunteer in different projects with youth from different countries. It's amazing. Meet youth from different countries. You can volunteer local organizations or One World Citizens, or do an Erasmus Plus. You can travel, but sustainably, by traveling with a focus to explore and to learn and to share knowledge. You can do that on platforms with Workaway, Woof, HelpX. Of course, all One World Citizens, we had their first internship, Flora, intern doing a internship in Bosnia. So amazing opportunities there. And Erasmus Plus, the EVS experience we told. So travel for experience, guys. That's our call. And for your lifestyle, if you want to live more sustainable, start. Yes, it is true. Start changing your diet, and it can be small changes in your diet. For example,
really progressive.
I don't drink sodas anymore, just water or tea or coffee, which is not really sustainable, but small changes can help already.
You cannot do all butters at once, Alice. You are doing
eat less meat. It's a real big impact you can take. But also be aware of what you consume. Consume less. Be aware, where is this product coming from? Does it come from Brazil? Does it come from Australia? What is the impact of that product?
Do I really need it? Can I borrow it from somebody? Can I repair it if it was broken instead of buying a new one? That kind of questions. Just asking yourself questions. helps a lot already.
And it's actually a fun way that you rediscover your own skills too, because sometimes you feel like, oh, I can build something myself, or I can make something myself, or I can draw something myself. Or Alberto is into foraging mushrooms in the forest now, so he's learning a lot about mushrooms, and yeah, you learn how to
Plants and
grow
everything.
stuff again. It's really a fun experience as well. And yeah, if you have to buy something, please think if you can buy it local or secondhand, and yeah, see what's in season and organic when possible. Start step by step. That's
Because
our
there is a lot
call
of
to
things to
action.
consider, but I mean, we are including more and more things in our life, but doesn't feel like, oh, we are busy doing these choices. I mean, we change a couple of things, see how it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, we go back, and then we find another way to make a small change. It needs to be a process. If you change your life completely, then it's really easy to just throw the towel and go back to the same, let's say, negative path. But I mean, each one has a way of living. It's more about trying to improve it, or find your way and try
Yeah.
to keep it positive.
Yeah, and really, with one little step, you can already have a positive impact.
Sometimes
Remember.
a huge one.
So, if you want to keep following us, our discoveries, our who knows,
Struggles.
travel struggles, we have a Instagram, Facebook account, Able to Sustain, and a YouTube account, which is not very active, but you can find YouTube videos of our world tour there if you haven't seen them yet. We're not professional vloggers, but we
No,
try
you
to
can see it
document
already.
our stays as much as possible. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask them. And one last advice is, if you haven't seen it yet, and there's where Monique, I think, or somebody from One World Citizens, David Attenborough's documentary Alive on Our Planet. It's an amazing documentary. I think it's 1.5 or 2 hours. And it's free to watch on Netflix, maybe on
Then it's
some
not
other
free.
channels. Yeah, maybe some other channels, but it's a really amazing documentary. I'm sure you can find the pirate version somewhere.
Oh, are you saying
Okay.
people to?
No, sorry. Watch it on Netflix.
No, but there are many things to watch and really inspiring. And if you want to know more things that also have had an impact on our vision, many of them are just documentaries or programs or that kind of things that everybody can reach really easy.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I hope we inspired you with our discoveries and travels. And
well, thank you
that's
very
it.
much, Elise and Alberto, for being here. And thank you very much for your inspiring story. I mean, I've heard and seen a lot from both of you over the past year, but hearing it all out loud again, it really inspires me to go into the world myself. So really, thank you, Mieke. Also sends thanks for sharing your story. And we hope to hear from you very soon, and hope to see very much more of your travels and your sustainable lifestyle. So if you ever want to ask Elise and Alberto any personal questions about the travels, about the project, about how to make your life more sustainable, please. They have an amazing Instagram. They have, I think, even a website, and you can also contact them, of course. So thank you very much, Elise and Alberto.
Thank you for this opportunity.
And thank you very much, everybody who was watching. We will be back tomorrow with our final day of the conference. And we are going to do some interviews with participants. So if you want to tell about your experience of the week, please let us know so we can try to get you into the studio tomorrow. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and hope to see you tomorrow, and hope to see you tonight at our pub quiz. And have a nice evening. See you tomorrow.